Welcome to the Streetport Connection with Tommy, and this is about the TNA pay-per-view that was happened earlier tonight, Destination X. But first, I'm going to give you a couple of, maybe just one injury update. Sarita of the former tag, actually still they're named Mexican American now. Sarita has a facial injury that she announced on her Twitter and her Facebook pages that she will not miss any action because their tapings are tomorrow night and Tuesday night. The next couple weeks. Maybe just next week, for this week. Because the pay-per-view is in 2 weeks. Alright, and off with the pay-per-view. They opened up with a promo for tonight's event. Promo aired. Abyss versus Brian Kendrick has an Art of War theme. We're live from the Impact Zone in Orlando. No Taz. So you got Michael, Tenay and Jeremy Borash on commentary. Tenay says tonight we celebrate the past, present, and future of the X Division. He says Taz is on assignment tonight and will return on Thursday for Impact. Thus, they're taping this tomorrow night. Borash and Tenay talk more about the X Division before we go to the six-sided ring. Yes, the six-sided ring returned, supposedly for one night only. And advertised earlier in the evening was Kazarian versus Samoa Joe. Christy Hemme is doing the total introductions the whole night inside the six-sided ring as Kazarian makes his way out for the first match. His opponent, Samoa Joe, was out next, of course. Bell rings and they go at it. Lots of back and forth. Fast action. Joe goes for a choke and Cass slides out of the ring. Joe does a dive through the ropes, but Cass slides back in the ring. Joe finally connects with a clothesline on the floor, and the crowd is hot for the opener. Cass fights back on the floor, but Joe stops him. Cass leaps off the apron. Joe moves. Joe brings him back in the ring, and Cass starts stomping on him. Joe rams Cass back at the corner and kicks him in the head. Joe catches Cass in the air, hits him with an atomic drop, and a clothesline for 2. Cass starts to make a comeback with right hands, but Joe runs right over him. Joe takes Cass to the mat and lays him down with a big kick to the face. Joe with a knee drop and another 2 count. Joe goes for a choke, but Cass counters it. Joe comes right back with a clothesline. Joe takes Cass to the top and hits him with a big chop. Joe goes for the muscle buster, but Cass blocked it. Cass springboards, nails him with a drop kick. They go up and trade several forearm shots. Joe connects with a series, but Cass slams him. Cass springboards off the second rope with a leg drop. Cass with a springboard. Tornado DDT only gets a 2 count. Cass ended up on the apron and fights himself in with a slingshot DDT for a 2 count. Joe counters with an elbow and goes up to the second rope. Cass kicks him in the head. Cass climbs up top with Joe, but Joe knocks him to the apron. Joe catches Cass in the head with a kick. Cass then goes to the floor, but Joe runs and dives through the ropes and nails him in the head with an elbow. They both go down to the floor, or on the floor, back in the ring, and Joe slaps Cass hard in the back. Cass counters a powerbomb, but Joe counters that and powerbombs him for a 2 count. Joe rolls right into the STF looking for a submission win. This is not the point game. Similar to the Bound for Glory point system. 10 points for a submission and only 7 for a pinfall. Well, back to the pay-per-view. Okay, Cass bites Joe's finger to break the hold. Drop kicks him in the corner. Cass charges in the corner, but Joe catches him in the air and slams him down. Lots of Joe chants from the crowd. Joe goes for the choke hold again, and takes Cass to the mat. Joe applies a scissors lock to lock the hold in. Cass finally makes it to the ropes and the hold is broken, but Joe does not break the hold at first and pushes Earl Hebner right off. Because he's mad. Why didn't he count to 3? Or because he tapped. Well, he's in the ropes. Hebner and Joe argued. At this point, Cass recovered enough and almost gets in a choke again. Cass drops down and rolls Joe up for the schoolboy pin out of nowhere for the win. Winner of the match, Kazarian. Then they show footage from Daniels and AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe back in 2005. We also see footage of Daniels arriving in the arena from earlier today. Luckily, that's from earlier today, because remember in the past when several other wrestlers, such as Hardy Boys, were late to their events? Well, this was not earlier today, so they said. Footage from earlier today with Suicide was shown. Sangriento and Curryman were back, signing autographs with fans. Eric Young comes through the crowd and says he's headed to LA, but needs a tag partner before he leaves tonight. He goes up, talks to Curryman. And also Sangriento, who is under the mask, under Amazing Red's under the mask. And Unknown, who is at the table as Curryman. And neither with Suicide. Suicide didn't even say nothing. Couldn't really tell. Look, apparently Curryman had said that Suicide had an injury. That's why he couldn't wrestle. So out of nowhere comes Shark Boy. And he says, all you had to do was ask if you needed a partner. You know I got your back. Then they start to shake hands. One up here, one down here. Up here, and he goes down here. The other one goes up, back and forth. Shark Boy said, man, never mind. Let's go on to the ring. So this was an unscheduled advertised match. And they faced later on in the evening the Generation Me members Max and Jeremy. Okay. We go to the ring. Next match is Douglas Williams versus newcomer Mark Haskins. Makes his debut. And he is also from England area. He had, I think he had 1 or 2 matches back in some TNA history. Because Douglas Williams is in the ring. He came out with Rob Terry and Magnus for Williams' open challenge from earlier today. Out next came the challenger Mark Haskins, a wrestler from the UK. Williams takes the mic and tells Terry and Magnus he's got this all by himself. So they leave the ring. Haskins got no reaction before coming out. This dude looks like a younger Edge. The crowd chants, "Who are you? Who are you?" from the crowd. Williams tells Haskins he's surprised he took the challenge. Williams says Haskins made such an impression on the UK tour earlier this year that people were telling him Haskins was the next big X Division star to come out of the UK. Williams tells Haskins he's going to need his A game tonight. And the bell rings and they go at it. Going to the mat early, lots of back and forth action to start. Williams takes it to the corner, but Haskins goes to fight out. Williams knocks him down and whips him to the other corner. Haskins counters, but Williams drops down for a 2 count. Several pin attempts exchanged here from both guys. Williams rolls out of the ring to regroup. They end up on the mat again. Haskins keeps headbutting Williams back down into a 2 count. They go to the corner and then they run the ropes a couple of times. Haskins flips Williams and sends him to the floor. Haskins drop kicks Williams into the railing. Williams come back and pulls Haskins' leg, causing him to fall hard on the apron. And then they go to the floor. Williams suplexes Haskins on the floor and brings it back in the ring for a 2 count. Williams slaps Haskins around and ties him up in a surfboard submission. Williams comes out with a 2 count. Haskins gets up, but Williams clotheslines him. Williams puts Haskins on his back and rams him face first into the turnbuckle. Williams ends up on top with Haskins. Haskins fights back and sends Williams to the mat. Haskins comes off the top rope with a drop kick, and then Williams goes down. Williams with the uppercuts, and then they both trade uppercuts. Williams gets a 2 count. Haskins comes back with forearms and an elbow to the face. The guy's got some talent, I'll tell you that. He's also acrobatic too. Haskins with a big back elbow to the face in the corner. Haskins sling shots from the second rope and barely hits a clothesline for a 2 count. That was a slight botched moment there. Williams goes for a chaos theory, but Haskins blocks it and hits a counter for a 2 count. Haskins then goes for a slam, but Williams fights off. Williams with a knee to the chest in the corner. Williams goes up top, but Haskins kicked him down. Kicked him in the chin on the way down. Haskins then goes up top, but slips. He went it back up again and tries to hit the shooting star press, but Williams moves out of the way and rolls Haskins up for the win. Douglas Williams the winner after the match. Williams approaches Haskins, raises his hand, helping him stand up. Williams extends his hand after a brief thought whether he should or not. And he goes ahead and shakes, and they leave together. Actually, they both left the ring anyway. Then they cut to backstage. SoCal Val is with Austin Aries. He talks a promo, tells Val how good she looks, and cuts an awesome promo on the fans and his match tonight, where TNA contract will be up for grabs. And this was my disappointment of the evening. Because I'll go ahead and tell you, Austin Aries wins the contract. And your match that was just made, Generation Me versus Eric Young and Shark Boy. And the winners are Shark Boy and Eric Young. But I'm going to tell you how it happened. We go to the ring, out comes Max and Jeremy for the next match. TNA TV champion Eric Young is out next, followed by his partner and the returning Shark Boy, but for how long? Lots of stalling for Shark Boy and EY's team to start the match. They finally go at it with Shark Boy and Jeremy Buck. Well, in the meantime, while they're doing this, they both tell each other they want the other one in the ring. When they both go into the ring, and they both go to the apron. Happens about 4 or 5 times, and they finally start. Lots of stalling for Shark. I already went through that. Buck takes it to the corner and works Shark Boy over. Shark Boy dodges a charge in the corner and stomps Buck down to the mat and mimics Stone Cold. Lots of back and forth action. EY comes in and does a match as well as Max Buck. Lots of back and forth action between those two. EY finally kicks Buck in the head from a springboard and hits us an atomic drop. Shark Boy comes in and does the bite to Buck's butt. They go to the floor and Shark Boy gets double teamed. They bring it back to the ring for more double teaming as the referee is distracted by EY. It comes back to Shark Boy double teamed again. Shark counters a clothesline, hits the neck breaker on Jeremy. Lots of back and forth action. Again, on this match, EY comes back in and goes at it with Max. Max surprises him with a close 2 count. Max puts EY on his shoulders while Jeremy goes to the top for a double team move. Shark knocks Jeremy down and saves EY. Hits a wheelbarrow drop on Buck for the pin. Well, this was a wheelbarrow cutter. And they showed us some replays for it, and it was definitely a cutter. So he got the wheelbarrow up, all the way up, and on his way back down, it looked like he was going to give him a suplex. He lets him go, catches his head right on down for the cutter. Okay, or the RKO, I should say. So Shark Boy and Eric Young win that match. Daniels is backstage when AJ walks up. This was not shown on the internet portion. They seem to be on good terms in tonight's main event match. Then when the internet portion came back on, SoCal Val was backstage with Zima Ion. He talks about winning tonight's match for a TNA contract. Well, we got a promo for tonight's Ultimate X match. And your stars in this match are the returning Robbie E. He's been out for like 3 or 4 months himself. Versus Alex Shelley. Versus Amazing Red versus Shannon Moore. Okay, we go to the ring for the Ultimate X to crown a new #1 contender for the X Division title. Today and Jeremy Borath talk about Ultimate X as the crew finishes putting the structure up and hanging the X. Out first comes Robbie E. with Cookie at his side. So they both made their return tonight for tonight's X Division pay-per-view. Okay, Amazing Red is out next, then Shannon Moore, and finally Alex Shelley. The bell rings and they all go at it. Moore and Red, Shelley and Robbie. Moore drops Red on and goes for Robbie doing the same move. Moore then takes down Shelley and goes back to work on Robbie. Moore cleans house and goes to climb the structure. Red stops him and they go at it. Shelley and Red go at it now. Shelley knocks Red off the top to the mat as Robbie climbs the ropes on the structure. Red sends Shelley to the floor. Robbie drops from the ropes and the structure. Okay, more. Shelley knocks Red off the top to the mat as Robbie climbs the ropes on the structure. Red sends Shelley to the floor. Robbie drops from the ropes on the structure, and he goes at it with Red. Red gets an upper hand and climbs up, but Shelley stops him with a big chop to the back. Shelley, Robbie, and Red go at it with each other in the corner. They send Robbie to the floor, and Shelley works Red over. While his leg is stuck on the ropes, Moore starts to climb up now until Shelley stops him. Moore, Robbie, and Shelley go at it in the corner. Shelley baseball slides them both, kicking them both to the floor. He goes to the top, but Red stops him. Shelley knocks Red down to the apron. Shelley climbs out on the ropes, but Robbie pulls him down to the mat. Red and Robbie go at it now. Red knocks Shelley down and leaps from the top onto Robbie. Robbie blocks it and sends Red to the mat. Robbie runs and knocks Moore off the apron. He baseball slides, but Moore traps him in the apron cover and hits him with a forearm. Shelley fires over the ropes and shoves Moore into Robbie. Moore ends up on the apron and moonsaults back onto Shelley and the floor. Lots more back and forth action. Robbie climbs the structure and points at the X. He climbs out on the ropes and goes for it. Red pulls his leg and brings him back to the mat. Red with a series of spin kicks. Robbie whips Red in the ropes and he flies over him down to the floor onto Moore and Shelley. Robbie goes back up and climbs out for the X again. Red springboards into the ring and drop kicks Robbie out of the air. Robbie goes to the floor to regroup with Cookie. Moore climbs the structure, but doesn't go for the ropes. He goes for the top. You know the steel scaffolding type metal? Well, that's what he goes for. And then tries to climb down. And Cookie's holding on Shelley's leg as he tries to climb the structure. Moore crawls out on top of the structure. Red is also climbing out on the ropes and going for the X. Shelley finally starts going for the X, and this is your finish. Moore drops from the top of the structure onto the ropes, kicks Red off of him. Moore goes for the X, but Shelley slides out on the ropes and kicks Moore to the mat, stomping on his hands and what have you. Shelley unlocks the X after a few minutes, and then drops to the mat for the win. New #1 contender, Alex Shelley. After the match, the injured Chris Sabin comes out to congratulate Shelley. Shelley dedicated the match to Saban earlier in the evening. We go backstage with SoCal Val and Low Key. He talks about winning the contract tonight in a three-way, and he was my favorite to win. But he didn't win. He's the one that got pinned. We get a video package hyping Jerry Lynn versus RVD. Christy Hemme is in the ring to introduce Jerry Lynn, and out he comes. RVD is out next to a nice reaction. Lots of dueling chance to start the match. Also, lots of stalling here. They finally lock up and go at it. RVD with a side headlock. They run the ropes. RVD drops Lynn with a shoulder. They go to the mat and go back and forth. Both get to the feet at the same time, and the crowd applauds. RVD takes Lynn out with a sweep and works on the arm. They go to the corner. Lynn fights to the top, but RVD knocks him down with a spin kick. RVD goes for the superplex, but Lynn fights him. Lynn sends RVD to the apron and kicks him in the mouth. Then goes for tornado DDT on the apron, but RVD clotheslines him into the ring. RVD with shoulder thrust in the corner now. RVD misses a spin kick and gets hung up in the ropes. Jerry Lynn takes him down. Takes the advantage. RVD gets up but misses two flips. Lots of counters and 2 counts for RVD here. They go back. They both get back to their feet, and the crowd applauds again. RVD sends Lynn to the floor with a kick. RVD goes to dive over the ropes, but he stops. RVD invites Lynn to come back in as he's holding the ropes. Not actually holding. He's just sitting on top of the rope, and the other one just is like, okay, he's letting him in. Okay, well, nothing happened over that. Okay. RVD, like I said, invited him to come back in the ring, holding the ropes open for him as Lynn re-enters the ring. The crowd applauds, and they square off again. RVD extends his hand for a shake, but Lynn grabs his arm and throws him out of the ring into the barrier where the fans are. Lynn hits a baseball slide, sending RVD back into the barrier. Lynn leaps off the apron and lands on RVD, but hits his head on the floor. Lynn brings it back in the ring for a 2 count. Some boos for Lynn now from the crowd. More offense and another 2 count for Lynn. Lynn chokes RVD as the ref counts. RVD tries to come back, but runs into a boot in the corner. Lynn goes for tornado DDT out of the corner, but RVD counters it. Lynn comes back with a bridge suplex for a 2 count. Lynn with a knee drop and a headlock now. RVD tries to break free, but Lynn slams him to the mat by his hair. Lynn chokes RVD on the rope with his boot now, and RVD is bleeding from his mouth, so I guess he bit his tongue. Lynn with a 2 count and more offense. The crowd starts chanting for RVD as he tries to make a comeback. RVD counters and drops Lynn with a big kick. RVD hits Rolling Thunder and gets a 2 count. RVD catches Lynn with a spin kick out of the corner and sends him out to the floor. RVD runs and baseball slides Lynn into the barrier. RVD front suplexes Lynn over the top of the barrier and leaves him laying on it. RVD then goes to the apron and lands on Lynn and the barrier, doing his spinning leg drop. RVD then brings it back in and hits a slingshot leg drop from the top rope. RVD goes to the top, but Lynn pushes him off. RVD lands hard on the floor. Lynn brings RVD back in the ring and follows with a steel chair. Hebner warns Lynn, but he's not listening. Lynn ducks a spin kick and leg drops RVD's head onto the steel chair for a 2 count. Lynn goes outside and brings another chair into the ring. RVD is busted open by his eye now. RVD fights Lynn off and picks up the chair. RVD rolls through to the second rope. Lynn catches him and powerbombs RVD onto the steel chair. RVD hits hard and Lynn gets a 2 count. Lynn swings the chair, but RVD ducks and kicks it into his head, kind of like the Van Daminator. RVD goes to the top and hits the 5-star splash for the win. And they go backstage with the newcomer, Jack Evans. He says he's never been more nervous, but he's bringing home the contract tonight. And your four-way dance is up next. Austin Aries versus Jack Evans versus Low Key versus Zima Ion. They go to the ring. Out first is Austin Aries. After Christy Hemme botches the entrance, just like I botched her name just about, I called her Crimmy. Retort. Zima Ion is out next. Low Key is out next with a nice reaction, followed by Jack Evans. Evans also gets a decent reaction. Bell rings and here we go. Aries with an early pin attempt on Zima. Low Key drops Evans in the corner and goes to Aries. They shake hands, but Key kicks Aries hard. Aries and Key go at it now, and Zima comes over, but Key fights him off. Evans lays out Key and goes at it with Zima. Evans takes down Zima and hits the spin kick for a 2 count. Evans goes for a standing moonsault, but Zima kicks him out of midair. Low Key comes over and chops Zima hard. Low Key and Zima exchange chops, and Low Key comes off the second rope with a big kick for a 2 count. Low Key works over Evans in the corner until Aries comes over. Aries works over Low Key now and splashes Evans and Zima in their corners. Aries then hits Key in the corner with a fingernail rake. All three come back and hit a 3-way drop kick on Aries, sending him out to the floor. That 3-way kick, it was like botched or barely tapped him, and he just does the swimming backstroke. Falls out of the ring. Evans and Zima go at it now. Evans kicks Low Key off and kicks Zima down. Drop kick to Low Key. Evans with a 2 count on Zima. Low Key chops on Zima now. Low Key charges, but Evans kicks him. Aries pulls Evans down from the apron. Zima runs and dives through the ropes, taking Aries out. Key and Evans go at it. Aries tries to pull Evans down again, but he flips down to the floor. They go at it until Aries shoves him into the apron. In the ring now, Zima has a hanging choke on Low Key. Aries comes in and breaks it up. Zima falls on Aries for a 2 count. Zima backslides Aries for a 1 count. Back and forth until Aries drop kicks Zima in the face and only gets a 2 count by Aries. Low Key kicks Evans out of the air, covers him for a pin until Aries breaks it up. Low Key and Aries have words in the middle of the ring now and get in each other's face. Zima covers and grabs Aries. Evans grabs Key and Aries counters and applies a nice submission on Zima, while Low Key counters and applies a nice choke on Evans. Aries breaks his hold on Low Key and breaks his hold. Evans and Zima go to the floor. Low Key and Aries have more words in the ring. Key with a big chop on Aries. Aries comes back with one himself. They trade multiple chops. Aries gets the upper hand, but Low Key blocks a brainbuster. With a kick to the back of the head, Low Key pins Aries until Evans leaps in the ring and breaks it up. For the save, Evans with 2 count on Low Key and Aries. Zima comes in now and drops Evans on his face for a 2 count. Aries and Zima go at it. Aries drops Zima and hits a big elbow for a 2 count as Low Key breaks the pin. Tries to pin Aries, only gets a 2 after a double stomp to the back. Evans ends up on Key's shoulders and takes him down with the scissors. Low Key ends up on the floor. Evans runs the ropes, but Zima pulls the ropes down, causing Evans to fall to the floor. Zima runs the ropes now, but Aries knocks him down with a flying elbow. Aries covers Zima for 2. Aries runs the ropes, but Low Key kicks him in the head. Low Key with 2 count on Aries then, and Low Key runs and drop kicks Zima into the corner. Evans leaps with a kick from the top on Low Key, and Aries runs over and clotheslines Evans while he shows off. Aries with a 2 count on Evans and a 2 count on Key. Zima counters the pin and rolls up Aries for a 2 count. Zima hits Aries with the forearms and right hands now. Aries whips him into the corner, charges but ends up on the apron. Aries with a neck breaker from the apron. Aries goes to the top rope, but Low Key cartwheels over and does another flip off the cartwheel and hits him in the head with a kick. Aries falls to the mat. Key covers Aries for a 2 count. Evan takes low key from the top and brings him to the mat because he was going up for the Warrior's Way. Brought him down with a Hurricane Rana. Evans with a 2 count on low key. Evans goes up top, but Zima knocks him off. Sending him down to the floor, Zima goes up top and hits a 450 on low key for a 2 count as Aries stops the pin. Evans goes up top while Aries throws Zima outside of the ring. Evans then goes for his patented 630, but low-key puts his knees up. Aries runs over and kicks Evans in the head and drop kicks Key. Aries with a brain buster for the win on low-key. After the match, SoCal Val greets Aries at ringside with his new TNA contract on the clipboard. Aries says he's the greatest man that ever lived and walked up the ramp looking over his contract. We go backstage with Abyss holding his book, talking about War and his X Division title match with Brian Kendrick for later on in the evening. Up next is the promo for the match with comments from Eric Bischoff and others. And up next is your TNA X Division title match, Brian Kendrick versus Abyss. This match ended up in a melee, and you have a new X Division champion. And this is how it happened. Out first comes Brian Kendrick. Next comes the TNA X Division champion, Abyss. Christy Hemme does official introductions before the bell. Here we go as Kendrick starts wailing on Abyss, but it doesn't budge. Kendrick tries to cross body, but he doesn't budge again. Abyss clubs Kendrick back to the mat. Abyss goes for a splash in the corner, but Kendrick moved out of the way. Kendrick with a right hand in the corner. Kendrick with another right hand and a drop kick. Kendrick charges, but Abyss drops him with a clothesline. This could have easily been a squash match that everybody was predicting. But like I was predicting myself, internet fans, what have you, if Brian Kendrick won, it was going to be because of outside interference. Well, the entire locker room came out at the end of the match. And I'm going to go for it. Kendrick tried to fight back, but Abyss grabbed him for a choke slam. Kendrick broke free by biting his fingers. Abyss sends Kendrick to the floor and hits him with big chops. Abyss brings him back in the ring for more chops in the corner. Abyss charges, but Kendrick counters with a forearm. Kendrick with another forearm. He charges, but Abyss drops him with a big boot. Abyss runs in the corner and this time connects with a big splash. Abyss goes to his copy of the book, which was the waste of time. And I believe this was his mistake because Kendrick gets the comeback. Like I said, he recovers. Kendrick tries to come back, but Abyss beats him back down to the mat and goes back to reading the book. Kendrick hits Abyss with a big forearm and forearm shot and knocks the book out of his hands. Abyss is busted open now. Kendrick ducks a clothesline and fires away with forearms on Abyss. Kendrick charges and drop kicks Abyss over the ropes and to the floor. Kendrick dives to the ropes now and sends Abyss into the corner. They go at it on the floor. Kendrick with big kicks. They come back in the ring and Kendrick goes up top. Kendrick with a crossbody for a 2 count. Kendrick goes back to the top and hits a missile drop kick for another 2. Kendrick goes for sliced bread, but Abyss catches him and hits shock treatment for a 2 count. Here we go. Abyss corners Earl Hebner and turns around to shots from Kendrick. Kendrick moves and Abyss accidentally splashes Hebner. And I predicted that to happen. Ref bump, and then Eric Bischoff comes out. And the crowd boos. Bischoff enters the ring and yells at Kendrick. Kendrick drop kicks him, drops him with a right hand. Brother Ray, Scott Steiner, and Gunner come down and beat on Kendrick until Shock Boy, Generation Me, and Amazing Red run down to make the save. That's X Division 1, I'll call him. Immortal come out and clear the ring of the X Division. And then bring Kendrick back in for the 3-on-1 beatdown. And X Division 2 comes out. This brings more members of the X Division. And they finally clean house of Steiner, Gunner, and Ray. Kendrick goes up top now and comes down, but Abyss catches him for a choke slam. Kendrick blocks it and rolls Abyss up for the pin and the win. After the match, X Division wrestlers enter the ring and hoist Kendrick up on the shoulders, congratulate him, and the arena just opens up with confetti falling down to the floor as Eric Bischoff and Immortal look off on the ramp pissed off. Being Bully Ray, Gunner, yada yada. Abyss has words with Bully Ray and shoves him down on the stage before heading to the back. I did not particularly see that. That's why I'm reading results. Kendrick and the rest of the X Division celebrate as we go ready for the main event. We get a nice promo for tonight's main event with comments from Daniels and AJ Styles both. And we go to the ring for tonight's main event. Out first comes Daniels, followed by AJ Styles to a nice reaction. Christy Hemme does the formal ring introductions after they enter the ring. Bell rings and they lock up going to the corners. Daniels applies a headlock and takes down AJ. AJ fights to his feet, but the hold is still applied. AJ breaks it and applies arm hold. Daniels breaks it and goes for a headlock as the fans do dueling chants. AJ Daniels, AJ Daniels. AJ goes back into an armbar submission. Daniels takes AJ back to the mat with a headlock. Lots of back and forth action on the mat with more holds now. They trade arm drags now, and AJ goes back to the arm hold. AJ slams Daniels and drops a big knee for a 2 count. AJ eventually takes it back to the mat with an arm hold. More offense from AJ, and Daniels counters a hold, and AJ goes to the floor. Daniels dives to the ropes, and it sends AJ back into the barrier. Daniels goes back into the ring and runs the ropes again. He dives over the top rope and sends AJ back into the barrier. Daniels brings it back in the ring and drops AJ. Daniels with another back drop. Daniels hits a third drop and this time gets a 2 count. Daniels keeps control of the match here and hits a neck breaker for a 2 count. Daniels with a submission now. AJ tries to come back, but Daniels slams him. Daniel goes for a springboard move, but AJ kicks him out to the floor. AJ leaps over the top and leg drops Daniels on the floor. They come back in the ring and AJ connects with a forearm and a big chop. AJ with a big splash in the corner now, and Daniels falls to the mat. AJ gets a 2 count. AJ applies an armbar submission now. And they go to the apron. AJ counters and suplexes Daniels hard onto the apron. It was a cool move. I haven't seen that one before. It was interesting. Daniels falls to the floor in pain after his back took the hit on the apron. AJ springboards into the ring, but Daniels hits the ropes and AJ falls down to the floor. Daniels brings it back into the ring and hits AJ back with chops in the corner. Daniels with a neck breaker and another 2 count. AJ rams Daniels back into the corner. Daniel boots him in the face and gets goes for a sunset flip. AJ drops it on top of him for a 2 count. Daniels counters for a 2 count of his own and applies a cross-face submission. AJ hits the ropes and the hold is broken. Daniels with a fireman's carry into a driver for a 2 count. To me, it looked like another cutter. You know how John Cena's attitude adjustment? Into the cutter. AJ tries to fight back now with shots to the gut. They trade multiple chops to the chest now. AJ hits an enziguri kick. And Daniels goes down. They get up at the same time. Daniels charges in the corner, but AJ moves and clotheslines him. AJ with a back elbow and another clothesline. AJ ends up on the apron and goes for a springboard, but he slips on the top rope and falls on his face. I guess they put some grease on the turnbuckles, because there was a lot of slipping and falling in this pay-per-view tonight. Daniels takes advantage and covers AJ for a 2 count. They both go for a suplex, but AJ counters and drops Daniels on his neck. They trade shots again. AJ gets Daniels up on his shoulders and spins him around. Drop kicks him and covers him for 2. AJ with forearm shots now. Daniels stops him and applies an interesting submission on AJ's neck with his legs. That's a scissor hold. AJ stands up with Daniels on his shoulders again. AJ dumps Daniels over the ropes and out to the apron. Daniels with palm thrust. Now he takes AJ to the top and slams him down with a big sit-down driver for a 2 count. Daniels goes for the inverted DDT, but AJ countered. Daniels goes to the second rope, but AJ chops him down and nails him with forearms. AJ slams Daniels from the second rope by his neck. 2 count for AJ. Daniels goes for the moonsault, but AJ countered and hits an inverted DDT for a 2 count. AJ goes for the Styles Clash, but Daniels holds on and pushes him off. AJ comes back and goes for a double underhook, but Daniels blocks that. More counters and blocks here. Daniels sweeps AJ, covers him for a 2 count. Daniels connects with a STO takedown for a 2 count. AJ with forearm shots, but Daniels catches him and slams him to the mat. Daniels goes for the BME. For those that don't know, best moonsault ever. But AJ puts his feet up. I only saw 1 foot up. And nailed him right in the chest as he came down. AJ goes for the Style Clash and nails it, but only gets a 2 count. AJ goes up to the apron and springboards in, but Daniels puts his knees up. Daniels hits the Angel's wings, but only gets a 2 count. Daniels with a series of elbow drops. Well, standing elbow drops. Daniels back up top. AJ gets up and knocks him down to the turnbuckle. AJ goes up top and goes for the superplex. But Daniel fights him off. Daniel goes for the Angel's wings from the top rope, but AJ blocks it. Back drops him to the mat. AJ hits a spinal tap from the top rope for the pin and the win. And that spinal tap is it's kind of like a 450 and a Whisper in the Wind combined. Because as he's coming out of the 450, he's twisting. After the match, we go to replays. AJ goes to extend a handshake, but Daniel turns around like he's going to walk away. Puts his eyes and head to the mat. Then eventually turns around, and AJ sticks out his hand again. And instead of shaking it, well, he does shake his hand. They pull each other to give them both. Gave each other a hug. And they both raise each other's hands, and as the pay-per-view goes off the air. Nothing else happened. There was no dark match or anything else. So, that's it for tonight's pay-per-view. Be back tomorrow night for your Raw. And anything else I can find. Probably your Raw versions of your internet shows.